Hello everybody and welcome to the 6th update from the Bird's Eye Learning Series with me, James Hopwood, UK Agriculture Manager here at Bird's Eye. And I'm back in the garden today. I'm back with the peas that we planted 6 weeks ago now, and as you can see they're growing really well, and we'll have a look at those in just a moment. But on the 14th of May that it is today, and we had a really hard frost overnight, and that follows a pretty interesting 5-6 months of weather. The winter is so wet and so wet into February, lots and lots of rainfall across the UK, and then since March it's gradually got drier and drier, and we're sat here again under blue skies and high white cloud. And our weather, hence why I brought the globe with me today, our weather is pretty unique because of our latitude. That's how high we are from the equator, but also in terms of our position on the western side of Europe, and it's affected by two predominant factors. But the reason we have such good fertile soil is that we're also at the western edge of the northern European plain, which covers off northern Germany all the way over into Russia, but also into France, with really good fertile soils. But our weather is driven by two predominant factors. The first being the Gulf Stream, and the Gulf Stream ultimately originates right down in off the tip of Florida in the US, and flows. It's a warm body of water that flows up from that point in the USA along the eastern coast of America and touches the eastern coast of Canada, and then over to ourselves here as it hits Western Europe. And that water is driven by warm seas and salt content that comes across, and as it hits the cooler water of this northern hemisphere in the tip of Greenland, it starts to cool. And that cooling effect is called the thermohaline circulation, or the Atlantic Medonal overturning. And as that salty sea water gets up to this and cools, it starts to get more dense and then drops down deeper into the sea, and therefore there's that circulating effect on a continental scale, and it's a global conveyor belt in reality, which drives a temperature difference, and therefore it drives a lot of our warm weather, and ultimately Western Europe would be a lot cooler without the effects of the Gulf Stream. We're also affected by the jet stream, and the jet stream is a core of strong winds that's 5 to 7 miles above the Earth's surface, which blow from west to east. And it's because of the changes in this wind and pressure that we see the effects of that at the Earth's surface. And like any fast-moving river, when the jet stream moves quickly across us, we see low pressure predominantly prevailing. That can move, and the jet stream moves its angle of attack, but when it's fast we see higher volumes of low pressure hitting the UK. When the jet stream starts to slow and meander, we start to see high pressures building, as we're seeing at the moment. Lots of high pressures, and the jet stream is quite slow at the moment, and those high pressures hold. We might get warm winds like we're going to see over the next few days, or we might get colder winds coming in from the north, but still it's a calm period of weather with low rainfall, as we're seeing at the moment. And ultimately the reason that we are so affected by the jet stream is that body of wind, and it's replicated in the southern hemisphere, but it's the intersection between the cold polar conditions and the warming conditions that we see at the equator. And it's a difference in these bands, and as the Earth rotates and changes its position through the summer months, as we get more sun at this time of year, we start to see the influence of the warmer weather and those warmer conditions pushing up, and therefore we tend to have these warmer summers, and therefore we experience seasons more than any other part of the world, because of the effects of the jet stream and the way that the Earth moves around. So, a little bit about the weather, but we are so affected by it here in the UK, and as farmers growing our crops, so we like to keep a close eye on it and lots of focus. But as you can see, our crops are doing really well in our pots, and hopefully yours look similar at home. And so this is a really good time to start to stake our plants, because you can see the tendrils there are starting to hold on to each other for some structural support as they grow higher and higher. And these crops now, with sunshine and some water, are going to really start to motor on. So if you have some garden canes, you can take those and start just to pop them into the crops, just like that. And it's often good just to tie them up at the top, and these peas will look to find those and grow on, and this tray here would take 2 or 3 of those. But if you don't have any garden canes available, you can always take a twig or a stick or anything you find around the garden and pop that in as well, and just like that. And those peas will find this structure from this twig and allow them to grow up big and tall. So they're doing really well. Just keep remembering to give them a water, and they will do fine. And you're going to see lots of changes on those peas over the coming weeks, and within the next 3 to 4 weeks they'll start to flower, and we won't be far off harvesting our peas. And as we see that, we see our crops here. Let's have a look at what's happening underneath. This is a little bit bigger pot than I showed a few weeks back. These are doing incredibly well now. Probably ready for a little drink, so I'll give these a water. I'll give the others a water later on. But you can see now these roots are really well developed and becoming extremely fibrous as they go down, again picking up all of that nutrition and moisture. So they are looking excellent. So keep giving them a water, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks very much.